As we know, Zach LaVine has been heavy in trade talks with almost every team now around the league looking for that extra piece to push them over the top. We haven't talked about the Cleveland Cavaliers, but the Bulls have been interested in all-star guard Darius Garland. We're going to break down all of that in this episode of Bulls Digest. I'm your host, Joey Mercer. And before we get into it today, I just want to say that I'm sorry I missed a video there yesterday. Some things come up, but to make sure that you get 7 videos this week, I am going to make sure to upload twice tonight, so you will get double content here on Bulls Digest. So in a few hours from right now, make sure to check your notifications. And make sure that you turn on notifications when you subscribe to the channel, and you will see the upload for us for our second video tonight. And speaking of subscribing to the channel, about 92% of you that watch these videos daily are not subscribed. So make sure if you aren't already, or if this is even the first time that you've come across this channel or any of this content, to make sure if you like what you're seeing to go down below, hit the subscribe button, turn on the bell for notifications. We're trying to reach 1,000 subs here by Christmas, so make sure to go down, hit the subscribe button. It's free. You enjoy the content, it's a win-win situation. Turn on that bell for notifications and you won't have to search for this anymore. So without further ado, let's get right into the topic for today, and that is Garland to Chicago. So yeah, there haven't been much of any rumblings about this, and now I've seen a lot of people come out with reports from insiders and even people on Twitter just kind of discussing it amongst themselves, different fans of different teams, and seeing which people are on which side was interesting to see as well. December 15th is actually the date that we've been looking for over the past several weeks, as we've talked about LaVine and other players on the Bulls being available, as they've had such an up and down season. Down for the most part. Since LaVine's been out, it's been kind of up. Huge win last night over the Heat, of course. Love to see it there for the Bulls. Great victory for them. Kobe White, as usual, was playing phenomenal. What else can I say about him besides just that? But let's get into their article. The article is actually from Bleacher Report from Adam Wells, saying Zach LaVine trade rumors. Darius Garland was eyed by Bulls and pitched to Cavaliers. Interesting, as we haven't heard any rumors of Garland being traded, because why would the Cavaliers trade Garland when he's such a young point guard? Well, they're off to a bit of a rough start. Garland's out with an injury now, and Evan Mobley's out 6 to 8 weeks as he needs surgery on his knee. So maybe they're looking to go a little bit of a different direction and maybe help out Donovan Mitchell right away, so they might have to move some pieces sooner rather than later to make that extra push if they think that Garland and maybe Jared Allen or somebody else on the team is not going to get things done for them ultimately. Maybe they want to make a win-now move. Not saying Garland's a bad player. I think he's a phenomenal player, former All-Star. But it might just not be the right fit for what the Cleveland front office is looking at. I can't speak for them, but that's all I could think about it. The next thing I saw in the article was, no one can accuse the Chicago Bulls of aiming low in their attempts to trade Zach LaVine. Per Yahoo Sports' Jake Fisher, the Bulls pitched the Cleveland Cavaliers on a swap of LaVine for Darius Garland in their attempt to pursue all-star players in exchange for the 28-year-old. Fisher didn't specify how the Cavs reacted to Chicago's proposal, but the fact Garland remains with Cleveland is an indication talks may not have gotten very far. Now, how far they get and how long ago was this, we don't know either, which is why I want to look more in the article on Yahoo Sports from Jake Fisher, so we're going to get into that right away. This one said, the slow developing market shouldn't necessarily come as a surprise after the Bulls began to gauge LaVine's trade value during the offseason. Yet LaVine entered the year once again as the focal point of Chicago's roster. Even still, the Bulls' order of operations, by all accounts, continues to prioritize moving LaVine first. That would leave a significant sample size of games to evaluate Chicago's updated roster before making further decisions on the trade status of other veterans such as DeMar DeRozan and Alex Caruso. The Bulls are still searching for the type of haul that a multi-time All-Star typically draws, which LaVine certainly is based on resume. An established starter plus a young player with upside and then first-round draft capital, according to league sources. Chicago has also attempted swapping LaVine for other All-Star players, such as pitching Cleveland on the concept of acquiring Darius Garland from the Cavaliers sources said. Now, I don't know who those sources are, but we have to say that if Yahoo Sports is out here coming out with articles based on this, they seem to have pretty reliable sources for the most part. So this is something that we're going to take that just hasn't just been word of mouth, but probably happened. So that's something to think about for sure if Garland is to be moved. Maybe it's just the pieces weren't made in place, and maybe a deal is to happen down the road. This could be huge. If the Chicago Bulls could land Darius Garland, it could change everything for a franchise for the future to come. Now let's continue on with that Bleacher Report article. Next thing I saw saying, additionally, NBC Sports Chicago's Casey Johnson reported Friday that the New York Knicks, Philadelphia 76ers, and Miami Heat have not shown interest in LaVine to this point. So that's interesting because he had been linked to the Heat, and I didn't really think a trade was going to get done. It seemed like they'd want Caruso or a little bit too much in return. And what are we going to get back? Like Duncan Robinson, Tyler Hero, whatever it may be. Hero is a great player, but he isn't quite LaVine. If we discussed that before on this channel, and the injuries are a little bit of a concern, although I do understand LaVine isn't the healthiest of guys, but he has been a little bit fortunate over the past couple of seasons, more so than Tyler Hero, who has been up and down and missing time last year in the playoffs, and you never really know what to expect with that guy. And there's been some rumblings in the locker room with him too, which has been well reported as well. Now, Casey Johnson, what did he say about this? Well, we'll get into the NBC Sports Chicago article right now. This was saying it's well documented the Chicago Bulls and Zach LaVine are open to finding their maximum salaried player a new home. But LaVine isn't the only Bull to keep tabs on, as the rumors fly and Executive Vice President Arturas Karnisovas, General Manager Mark Eversley, and their staff weigh their options. There will be noise surrounding DeMar DeRozan and Alex Caruso at minimum, and perhaps others. Meanwhile, on the court, the Bulls are playing their best basketball of the season with LaVine out. They're 5-2, averaging 28.1 assists in that stretch, and getting multiple contributions with balanced scoring. It's not too often a star player goes down with an injury and a team performs so much better, which is another reason that the trade value could be going down on Zach LaVine, and maybe the trade didn't go through with Darius Garland because now the value on LaVine is down, and they're expecting more than what the Bulls initially thought they would be able to get in return for Zach LaVine. That is very well possible. Next thing I saw in the Bleacher Report article, the NBC Sports article still from Casey Johnson. He talked to Billy Donovan, and Billy said, our guys just enjoy playing basketball. I don't think they're really thinking too much about trade rumors. And I hope that is the truth. I hope that they are just sticking to what they need to do. They are absolutely performing that way out there. And even if they're performing to raise trade value, that's smart in two situations. It's helping the Bulls out right now, and it's also helping raise their value so it can help us in the future and also help the players that are playing. So that's a win-win-win for everyone. Next thing I saw was, I have not heard anything from Arturas regarding any of our players, Donovan said. Obviously, as you move closer to February at the trade deadline, there'll probably be conversations, but everything to this point has been about how can we help this group get better. So, that is fair. This team obviously has just been so stubborn and does not want to rebuild, doesn't really want to change things up, wants to stick to their guns, what they have, and they're like, this team is good enough, we have to go out and try to win a championship. The team is just not there yet. We need to retool at the very least and change things around, and some major moves need to happen, and Zach LaVine needs to be dealt as soon as possible, hopefully for value. I don't just want LaVine off the team for nothing, but it will come to a point that we're going to have to take less than how we all feel about his trade value before it becomes too late to get anything. Next thing I saw was, back to the Bleacher Report article finally, saying a player like Garland would help solve a lot of the offensive issues that plague Chicago when LaVine is healthy. The 23-year-old is averaging more than 20 points per game for the third consecutive season and at least 5.9 assists per game for the fourth straight season. LaVine has been the biggest name mentioned so far as a potential trade candidate before the February 8th deadline, though it doesn't appear many teams will be quick to line up with their best offer for him. Per Joe Cowley of the Chicago Sun-Times, LaVine's camp would prefer a move to the Lakers because of the Clutch Sports connection. I didn't get too much into that article because I'm not really sure. I feel like it's all smoke and the mirrors with the whole Clutch Sports thing. Just because someone's with Clutch Sports doesn't mean they have to play with LeBron James. However, it has happened that LeBron's friends get hooked up and play with him in the past. but I don't know if that's going to be a situation with this. However, the Lakers have been heavily linked to LaVine. I don't think it's just because of the clutch sports thing, however. I think it's more so in both teams being interested in pieces on the opposing team, for that matter. The last thing that I saw in this was the Toronto Raptors are another team alongside the Lakers, believed to have at least some level of interest in LaVine. It's probably not helping Chicago's trade leverage that it has won 5 of 7 games with LaVine out to a foot injury, including victories over the Bucks and Miami Heat. It's true, the team has been great without them, and Kobe White has performed so good. That's what makes me a bit worrisome of a trade for Garland, how that would fit, but I'm sure Kobe could slot to the 2, Garland play the 1 if a move like that was to happen, but I do feel like with how young Garland is, and he is a former All-Star, that we would have to add on our end for Garland with the contract of Zach LaVine and the defense. Not that Garland plays much defense, but he's a little bit better than Zach, and the contract on Zach, of course, is worrisome along with the injuries. This has been your host, Joey Mercer. This is Bulls Digest. Make sure to go down below, like and comment on the video. I hope you enjoyed what you saw there today. You're getting another video, of course, later on this evening. And make sure, of course, to subscribe to the channel. Turn on the bell for notifications so you'll be notified later tonight when we upload. This has been your host, Joey Mercer, as always. Signing off.